大家好，欢迎收看秒懂军事，我是志贤。今天很荣幸的为大家邀请到美国退役的海军陆战队上士李察来跟我们分享他在美国的从军经验，还有他曾经在伊拉克打战过的经验哦。李察你好。
大家你好，我是雷蒙李察。
We're very happy to have you here today. So, would you start off with sharing with us, like, why did you join the military?
Well, for myself, it was more at first because of family tradition. My grandfather, who joined the Air Force back in the 1960s, went to Vietnam. My father, who joined it back in the late 70s and 79. And then growing up at a U.S. Air Force base in Okinawa, Japan, and as I got older, watching more movies like what you're going to do in the military base. And also just seeing it more and what opportunities it can give you, say, such as college, job opportunities. I knew I wanted to do that more so.
Interesting. And what brought you to Taiwan?
Grandfather described when he came back here in the early 70s, and my dad telling me that the older airmen that came here before enjoyed it. It's like, and then after my second time in Taiwan, I definitely want to stay here more so. After retiring from the Marine Corps.
Interesting. And we know that you've trained with Marine Corps and trained in their boot camp before. Would you share with us like what it's like?
Two movies you could watch. The closest would be Full Metal Jacket and the movie Jarhead. Reason being is the drill instructors you see, well, at least in Full Metal Jacket, he really was a drill instructor. So his actions, how you see him acting, that's how boot camp is for the most part. But our drill instructors today, they make you think more. It's more of a thinking man's game. My drill instructors were a quiet type, swift, silent, and deadly.
Could you like also share what they've done specifically that made you stronger like mentally during the training?
In the military, you're not allowed to do hazing, but in boot camp, they are allowed to do it under controlled circumstances. They're not going to hit you or anything or make you do, well, they're not supposed to make you do anything that's going to get you hurt, making you do push-ups. They'll make you do stuff like that. But it was just making you do tasks repeatedly and shouting at you that gets in your head. You'll see some people that they may look big and strong, but if they can't handle it here, size isn't everything.
And you've later worked on like fixing tanks, right? Could you also share more about that?
Well, after boot camp and Marine combat training, I went to Fort Knox, Kentucky back in 2002. That's where tank school was at. Tank mechanic school at the time for the Marine Corps was 3 months. It used to be 6 months because it's a very, very academically intensive course. You learn how to, and this is why also you don't worry about just going to combat. My dad and granddad both stressed this. Okay, a tank mechanic. Okay, well, tank mechanics seemed good enough. And later on, you learn how to work on turbine engines, diesels, hydraulics, and electronics for these vehicles. Funny thing about Marine Corps tank mechanics and Army ones, there is a difference. We have 4 sections: the hull, turret, engine, and recovery vehicle. In the Army, they have more personnel, so they tend to have people specialize in that area. In the Marine Corps, we don't have the numbers. You're going to learn all 4 sections. We're going to give you a base, we're going to test you academically, but when you get to whatever unit you're in, then you're going to learn more about it. And generally, if you get really good on the engine, you're going to be doing that more so just because we don't have time to train every single person to be a specialist, but we're going to give you an idea, a base to build on.
And once you graduated from tank school, they actually sent you to Iraq directly?
Not quite. After finishing tank school in December of 2002, 6 weeks after getting to my unit in 1st Tanks, H&S Company, I'm on a plane to Kuwait. We flew from March Air Base, Riverside, California, Moreno Valley, to Germany, Germany to Kuwait. Landed in Kuwait, middle of nowhere, in the middle of a desert, just picturing how my dad was back in Desert Storm, except he's in an Air Force base. And it's like, yep, about what I expected. My granddad would send me funny letters about him in Vietnam saying, it's your time now, my time is done. As you're going through life in the military and in this environment.
What was it like in Iraq?
Alright, I remember crossing into the line of departure. We had several phases. The day before, as we're at our little deployment area, getting the tanks ready, learning how to work on these vehicles. Yeah, doing that the night before. We got everything ready in less than a night. Crossing that line of departure into Iraq. All of us in our troop truck and in the 5-ton truck, we were all eerily quiet, just hearing the chaos in the back. And then, outside Basra, we had British tanks near us too, along with our tanks. And it was something else seeing British Challengers and M1 Abrams working in conjunction with each other. Hearing the radio chatter was something else. But then the next day, we're just storming down one of the Iraqi highways, just rolling it like we're going down from Taipei to Taiyuan, just going 30, 40, 50 kilometers down the highway. But first 4 nights crossing into Iraq, I just simply couldn't sleep. No point that I'm not saying I wasn't afraid. I was afraid, and it is what it is. But you have to this is what you signed up for, because the U.S. military is an all-volunteer force. It is what it is. And I try to learn those lessons.
Yes, and what does it mean to you to have been a Marine?
For me, it means a lot. It was something I dealt with from birth all the way to when I retired back 5.5 years ago. And for me, it's the biggest thing is learning how to live because once you've been around the military since birth and then getting out, it's an entirely different thing. And trying to apply those lessons. In the U.S. military, we try to tell you this: you came to us needing something. We try to return you as a person, as a regular civilian, as a better person.
So what do you think that has changed with this experience?
Standing up for yourself in that respect. Because if you won't stand up for yourself, you won't stand up for your husband or wife, or your girlfriend. You won't stand up for your husband and wife, or you won't stand up for your kids. So you have to learn, you have to take care of yourself first in that respect. And so for me, it's who I am in totality, and now what I'm having to do as I've been out for the last few years, learning how to actually live as a normal person, but passing these experiences on. And seeing Taiwan getting Abrams, there are definitely lessons and capabilities people don't fully realize about this vehicle. Like seeing in the news, some of the roads here or bridges couldn't handle it. Oh no, I know the bridges in Iraq and the roads are not as strong as those here in Taiwan. And going through blown out bridges, because our unit, you know how they have tank vehicles that can launch bridges?
Yes.
Yeah, when you have a halfway blown out bridge, and it's definitely not as strong as some bridges here, going over it, you're just seeing a half blown out bridge, and then you're looking down, say 50 meters below, and being able to go through all that, working on these tanks under darkness, fixing them under getting shot at.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much for your stories and your experiences. Yeah. And 那我们今天的秒懂军事就到这边喽，然后谢谢大家的收看，也希望大家可以持续锁定我们的频道，那我们下次见喽，拜拜。